Dwarves. How could you not love dwarves? Whether it's traditional dwarves, fantasy dwarves, space dwarves, or even mythological dwarves, they're all pretty awesome, except not these guys. These guys don't count. There's a lot of games that have dwarves in them, and you could be a dwarf or you could talk to them, but dwarves aren't really the focus of those games. So today I want to go over 5 games where dwarves are the focus, and I've said dwarf way too many times at this point. So let's get into it. Starting off at number 1, you have the gameplay footage that you're seeing in the background right now, which is Lord of the Rings: Return to Moria. Return to Moria is a survival building kind of game. It's a lot like all of the other survival building games that you see, kind of like the Conan game or Ark Survival Evolved, but each of these games has their own gimmick. This one, the gimmick is that you are a Lord of the Rings dwarf returning to Moria at some point in the 4th Age. And the representation of Moria, the mines of Moria, the city, all the creatures and everything, it's all perfect in this game. And you can even sing while mining. I found that to be one of the coolest things I've seen in a game with dwarves that really lets you embody that spirit that they have, at least in the Tolkien universe, which has influenced almost everything else, dwarf-wise. But this game is really cool. I definitely recommend it if you like base building and crafting and harvesting and mining, all these things that you see in all these other games. It's a lot of the same here, but the package is what makes it for me. So this one I definitely recommend. Another cool thing about it is that it has an entire single-player campaign. I've seen people who put over 70 hours into just the single-player part of it, and you could do everything you can in the game by yourself. So while it's probably more fun with other people, it can be totally played single-player, as is the same for basically almost every game that I'll ever talk about, at least. Same with Sir Felix. So I thought that was really cool. And at number 2, we have Regions of Ruin. Regions of Ruin is a side-scrolling game heavily based off of the game Kingdom, if you're familiar with that. The whole goal is to build up a city and save fellow dwarves and take more areas so you can get more resources to keep building up your city. It gets insanely hard down the road, and you're fighting all the typical dwarf enemies like goblins, orcs, animals, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple, but gets ridiculously hard later on. I like this game a lot, but it's not something that you could really spend hundreds and hundreds of hours in. It's just a good game to play if you don't have too much time or have to do something else on the side. So I definitely recommend this one for that specific thing, and if you're really into the Kingdom games, the Kingdom genre at this point, I guess. But it's pretty good. And at number 3, we have The Dwarves. The Dwarves is a RPG based off of a book with the same name, and while I've never read the book before, the game is pretty good in my opinion. It has some flaws in controls and combat here and there, but the story definitely makes up for that. Basically, if you're looking for just a new story that focuses on dwarves and stays within the typical fantasy RPG trappings and tropes, then this is the game for you. I really like it, I had a great time with it, but this is something I love wholeheartedly, so it may not be for everyone, but I think it's worth checking out. And at number 4, we have Craft the World. Craft the World is kind of like Terraria, but with dwarves, and you have a little bit more control over your people. You have to foster this town as it grows, whether above or below ground, or kind of both, and you keep digging deeper and deeper and have to fight different creatures and monsters and whatnot, and there's different threats that lurk further down, so it's pretty cool. You just manage this community and grow this community of dwarves. And it's got a lot of DLC, it's got a lot of content that they've added to it over the years. I think it's really cool, and it's got a beautiful art style. It looks so good. I don't know if it's hand-drawn, but it kind of looks hand-drawn, at least to me. Kind of like an animated hand-drawn, but it's definitely worth checking out. And last, but certainly not least, we have number 5, Dwarf Fortress. Dwarf Fortress. Where do you even start with this game? I could ramble about this game for days, but it's been around for what feels like forever, and it has pioneered new advancements in story generation, I guess it's called. I don't know the official term for it, but this game is beyond unique. You control a small colony of dwarves that has the goal of growing and expanding. And you build your little base underground, and you collect resources and fend off, enemies and stuff, kind of like some other games and stuff that we've seen before. But this game has a story generator in the background that's way better than even RimWorld. It's, I believe, one of the first, if not the first games to have this kind of system working in the background, where each individual within your colony is actually an individual person. And they have lives, and they have wants, and they have things that they do, and you don't control them, you just give orders to the group as a whole, and they go about their day and do their thing. Even down to the point where if you have a huge city, you can come up with like a murder problem, or maybe you have different quarters for different groups of people, and there's whole stories that emerge from each individual person within your city, and it's incredible. This game is beyond complex, both what's going on in the background and the stuff that you have to learn to play it, but it's absolutely worth the time investment in every way. If you can get this game, if you have something this game is on, I think it's only on PC, then I definitely say it's worth checking out. Almost above every other game on this list. And that's it. 5 games that focus on dwarves, are about dwarves, and are for dwarves. If you took a shot every time I said dwarves through this video, I think you'd be doubly dead by this point. But if you got to this point, then thank you for listening and watching all the way, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Give us a like if you enjoyed it, and dislike it if you didn't.
Let us know what you think about the channel.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Tell your mom.